What if one decision could quietly shape the next 10 years of your life? What if the choice you keep postponing is the very thing standing between you and the future you say you want? Most people imagine destiny as something mysterious, something written somewhere beyond their control. But what if your future is not waiting to be discovered? What if it is waiting to be chosen? Every day, we make decisions that feel small. We choose comfort over growth, silence over honesty, delay over discipline. We tell ourselves we will change tomorrow, start next week, try harder next month. But life does not move in dramatic leaps. It moves in daily patterns, and patterns, repeated long enough, become direction. So here is the real question: are your current choices aligned with the future you desire? Or are they aligned with the fears you refuse to confront? Many people stand at an invisible crossroads. On one side is what feels easy: familiar habits, familiar circles, familiar excuses. On the other side is responsibility, effort, discomfort, accountability. One path protects your ego today, the other builds your character for tomorrow. And the uncomfortable truth is this: you cannot walk both paths at the same time. Think about it. If you choose distraction, you are indirectly choosing delay. If you choose resentment, you are choosing emotional weight. If you choose inaction, you are choosing stagnation. Every no decision is still a decision. Every delay carries a cost. The question is not whether you are choosing. The question is what you are choosing. There is a powerful psychological shift that happens when a person accepts ownership. The moment you stop blaming circumstances, upbringing, society, or luck, something changes internally. You begin to see that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you absolutely control how you respond. And in that response lies your future. This is not about perfection. It is not about becoming someone else overnight. It is about alignment. Alignment between your values and your actions. Alignment between your goals and your daily habits. Alignment between what you say matters and what you actually prioritize. Ask yourself honestly, if someone observed your routine for 30 days, what future would they predict for you? Would they see discipline or distraction, courage or avoidance, growth or comfort? Your future is not built in grand moments of inspiration. It is built in quiet decisions no one applauds. Waking up when you said you would, keeping your word, choosing to learn instead of scrolling, choosing integrity when no one is watching. At some point, every person faces a defining choice, not a dramatic public moment, but a private internal one. Do I continue as I am, or do I step into responsibility? Do I protect my comfort, or do I build my capacity? Do I repeat yesterday, or do I redesign tomorrow? You cannot control time. It will move forward with or without your permission. But you can control direction, and direction, chosen consistently, becomes destiny. There is a silent battle that takes place within every human being. It is not visible to the world, yet it determines almost everything the world eventually sees. It is the battle between who you are now and who you could become, between immediate comfort and long-term growth, between excuses and ownership. Why is it so difficult to choose growth, even when we know it leads to something better? Because growth demands sacrifice. It asks you to let go of familiar patterns. It asks you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself. It forces you to admit that some of your limitations are not imposed from the outside, but maintained from within. Most people say they want success, stability, peace, or impact, but wanting is not the same as choosing. Choosing requires commitment. It requires saying no to distractions that feel harmless, but slowly erode your focus. It requires discipline when motivation disappears, and motivation always disappears at some point. Think about the difference between interest and commitment. When you are interested, you act when it feels convenient. When you are committed, you act regardless of how you feel. The future does not respond to interest. It responds to commitment. There is also the question of identity. Every choice you make reinforces a certain version of yourself. When you keep your promises, you reinforce the identity of someone reliable. When you break them, even privately, you reinforce inconsistency. When you face fear, you build courage. When you avoid it, you strengthen hesitation. Over time, these repeated reinforcements create a self-image, and that self-image becomes powerful. It either empowers you or limits you. If you constantly see yourself as someone who quits, procrastinates, or avoids responsibility, your behavior will follow that narrative. But if you begin to see yourself as disciplined, resilient, and accountable, your actions start aligning with that identity. The shift does not happen in one dramatic decision. It happens in daily micro-choices. Choosing to finish what you start. Choosing to respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. Choosing to prepare instead of hoping things will somehow work out. Ask yourself, what kind of person are your current habits shaping you into? If you continue exactly as you are for the next 5 years, where will you realistically end up? Not in your imagination, but based on your actual patterns. It is easy to blame external factors, economic conditions, family expectations, social pressure, and yes, external realities matter. But even within limitations, there is always a space of choice. A space where you decide your attitude, your effort, your integrity. The powerful truth is that responsibility is not a burden, it is freedom. The moment you accept that your direction depends largely on your decisions, you reclaim control over your narrative. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for rescue. You stop waiting for the right time. There is no perfect moment coming. There is only the moment you decide that your future deserves better than your excuses. The crossroads is not somewhere far away. It is here, in your next action, in your next hour, in your next response. And whether you realize it or not, you are already choosing. There comes a point when clarity replaces confusion. A quiet realization settles in. The life you keep imagining will never appear unless your behavior begins to match your vision. Hope without action becomes frustration. Dreams without discipline become regret. And regret is often nothing more than a collection of unmade decisions. Why do so many people wait? They wait for confidence before they act. They wait for certainty before they commit. They wait for guarantees before they risk. But confidence is built through action, not before it. Certainty is discovered along the path, not at the starting line. Guarantees rarely exist in meaningful pursuits. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Growth requires movement, and movement requires courage. Not loud, dramatic courage, but steady, quiet courage. The kind that chooses consistency over mood. The kind that keeps going when no one is watching. Consider how habits compound. A single productive day changes little. 100 productive days change everything. A single missed opportunity may not seem serious, but repeated avoidance slowly shapes a life defined by what if. The direction of your life is not determined by one massive event. It is shaped by repeated patterns. Imagine two futures standing in front of you. In one, you continue choosing what feels easy. You protect your comfort. You avoid difficult conversations. You postpone self-improvement. Years pass quickly. On the surface, life looks stable, but internally, something feels unfinished. In the other future, you choose discomfort when necessary. You confront your weaknesses honestly. You build skills patiently. You accept responsibility for your mistakes and learn from them. It is harder at first. There are setbacks. There are moments of doubt. But over time, something changes. Confidence becomes grounded. Peace becomes earned. Respect becomes natural. Which future is more aligned with the person you truly want to be? Every meaningful transformation begins with a decision that feels small, a decision to wake up earlier, a decision to speak truthfully, a decision to stop blaming and start building. At first, these changes may feel insignificant, but consistency turns small decisions into powerful momentum. There is also an internal shift that happens when you choose long-term growth over short-term comfort. You begin to trust yourself. Self-trust is built when your actions consistently reflect your intentions. When you say you will do something, and you follow through, you strengthen that trust. And once self-trust is established, discipline becomes less of a struggle and more of a standard. Ask yourself, are you negotiating with your potential? Are you lowering your standards to avoid discomfort? Or are you willing to demand more from yourself, not out of pressure, but out of respect for your future? Your future self is shaped by what you tolerate today, the excuses you allow, the habits you repeat, the standards you set. If you tolerate mediocrity, you slowly become comfortable with it. If you tolerate growth, effort, and accountability, you slowly rise toward them. The choice is not abstract. It is practical. It is visible in how you spend your time. It is reflected in how you handle adversity. It is revealed in what you prioritize when no one is forcing you. You do not need permission to change your direction. You need a decision. And once that decision is made, your future begins to shift, one disciplined action at a time. In the end, the most powerful decisions are rarely announced. They are made quietly, internally, often in moments when no one else is aware. A shift in mindset, a refusal to repeat an old pattern, a commitment to rise above a familiar weakness. These are the choices that redefine a person's trajectory. The world may not immediately notice when you choose discipline over distraction. It may not applaud when you choose patience over impulse. It may not reward you instantly for choosing integrity over convenience. But over time, those invisible decisions begin to produce visible results. There is something deeply empowering about realizing that your future is not a mystery waiting to unfold randomly. It is a direction shaped by repeated intention. Not everything is within your control, but your effort is. Your response is. Your standards are. Ask yourself one final question. If nothing in your life changed except your daily choices, how different would your future look? If you became slightly more consistent, slightly more focused, slightly more courageous each day, what would happen after a year? After 5 years? The distance between where you are and where you want to be is often smaller than you think. It is not always a matter of talent. It is not always about resources. More often, it is about clarity and commitment. It is about choosing what matters most, even when what matters most is not the easiest option. There will always be reasons to delay, reasons to doubt, reasons to remain where you are. Comfort will always whisper that tomorrow is a better time. Fear will always suggest that you are not ready. But readiness is not a requirement for growth. Decision is. When you choose responsibility, you step into maturity. When you choose discipline, you build strength. When you choose integrity, you build trust. These qualities compound over time. They create stability in uncertainty. They create confidence without arrogance. They create progress without chaos. You do not need to transform your entire life in one dramatic moment. You need to choose the next right action. then repeat it. Again and again. That is how momentum is built. That is how character is formed. That is how futures are shaped. Your past decisions have already brought you to this point. Some you are proud of. Some you wish you could undo. But today offers something powerful. The opportunity to choose differently. The opportunity to realign. The opportunity to commit. No one else can make this decision for you. No one else can walk your path. Advice can guide you. Circumstances can influence you. But ultimately, the direction of your life responds to the standards you set and the actions you take. So choose carefully. Choose consciously. Choose with awareness of who you want to become. Because whether you act intentionally or drift passively, a future is forming. And it is forming from the choices you make today. There is one more layer to this choice that most people overlook. It is not just about success, productivity, or external achievement. It is about the kind of inner life you are building. Because beyond money, status, or recognition, there is something deeper at stake, your sense of meaning. A future built on avoidance feels hollow, even if it looks impressive from the outside. A future built on integrity feels steady, even if it grows slowly. So the real decision is not only about what you will have, it is about who you will be. Consider this carefully. When challenges come, and they always do, what version of you will face them? The version trained by discipline, or the version shaped by delay? The version strengthened by accountability, or the version weakened by excuses? Hardship does not create character out of nothing. It reveals what has been built quietly over time. Many people focus on outcomes, but outcomes are echoes. They are the result of patterns that began long before. If you want a different echo, you must change the source. If you want a stronger future, you must strengthen your present habits. It is easy to underestimate the power of daily standards. The standard you set for your effort. The standard you set for your honesty. The standard you set for how you treat others. These standards become your internal compass, and when your compass is clear, decisions become simpler. Without clear standards, life becomes reactive. You respond to pressure instead of principle. You move based on emotion instead of intention. But when your values are defined, you no longer need constant motivation. You act because it aligns with who you have decided to be. This is where the true crossroads exists, not in dramatic life events, but in identity. Will you identify as someone who waits, or someone who acts, someone who complains, or someone who builds, someone who drifts, or someone who directs? It is possible to spend years in preparation without ever committing, always learning, always planning, always analyzing. But at some point, reflection must turn into execution. Knowledge without action becomes wasted potential. Look honestly at your routines. They are not random. They are votes for a certain future. Every time you choose focus, you vote for progress. Every time you choose growth, you vote for expansion. Every time you choose integrity, you vote for stability. The future is not decided in one grand declaration. It is shaped by accumulated votes. And here is the empowering truth. You can start casting different votes today. You do not need a new year, a new environment, or a dramatic turning point. You need a clear decision and consistent follow-through. Your direction is not locked. Your past does not imprison you. Your current patterns may influence you, but they do not define your next step. That step belongs to you. So pause and ask yourself, with full honesty, what kind of life am I quietly building? And if the answer does not satisfy you, are you willing to choose differently starting now? Because your future is not an accident. It is a reflection.